Right, let's begin.
Well, thank you everyone for joining our first webinar, hopefully of many. Today's topic, we want to touch upon how to find skilled engineers. My name is Dasha, and I am the Senior VP of Business Development here at Tateeda, and I will be your co-host for today's webinar. And I, of course, have my amazing co-host and CEO of Tateeda on with us today. Slava, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Yes, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening. Yes, I'm CTO and CEO of Tateeda, outstaffing for over, okay, let me make next slide. So we have been in business since 2013, so 11 plus years. Our team is globally distributed in over 20 countries, and we support our clients mostly in the United States and Canada. So we would like today share some of our knowledge, what we acquired in years of experience. Just would like to share with the community and see if that will bring any interest or any benefits to people who are participating in this webinar.
Great. Do you want to go to the next slide, Slava, so we can go over the agenda? So we've divided it into three main chapters. The first one, we're just going to go over what's the current landscape of engineering, the talent, where are they, what does it look like? The second chapter, we're going to hop into identifying the skills to look for when you're engineers. And then our last chapter, we're going to close it out with recruitment strategies when it comes to hiring. Hopping into chapter one, we have it divided into the global distribution of engineers. We're also going to go over engineering talent statistics, as well as outsourcing hubs where you can search for talent pools. As we do go into that, the first question I have for you, Slava, are what are some key trends that you have noticed in the engineering job market?
Good question. Yes, in the past few years, especially 23, we can see tremendous impact of artificial intelligence, and also this is what people are looking for, our clients in general, for skilled engineers and people with knowledge of artificial intelligence. They don't have to be expert in that, but at least exposure to AI makes significant difference in the hiring process. Excuse me?
Nope, you're good. Keep going.
I heard some background noise or something. Okay. Yeah, so this is what we're looking, well, what we see as a trend is more and more AI skills. Data scientists, DevOps make a significant impact these days. And people are looking for those very skilled engineers with those additional skills. So as you might know, a lot of application these days will utilize one way or another artificial intelligence, which replace some human interaction and optimize performance, which is good and maybe not successful in certain cases. Actually, I'm going to go to the next slide, and this is what we have today market trends, and you can see that the job market for software engineers historically was very strong, and people always were in demand and were easy. These days, with artificial intelligence coming into the place, it actually affects the development market, and we can see huge contribution of AI for declining of software engineering market. So based on some statistics, only 6% of engineers are confident they can find another job with the same pay rate as they had before. And 90% of surveyed, almost 10,000 engineers, having some difficulties. And as you can see, 66% of those engineers find this much, much harder to find a new job or whatever they're looking for. So this is significant change related to new trend with AI.
It seems though that we're still seeing there is a really high demand for skilled tech workers, but it seems like maybe people are starting to notice that they can get the same quality, if not better, offshore. Would you agree with that?
Well, Yes and no. We do have a lot of good skilled engineers in the United States. The problem is we don't have enough. That's why we see more and more companies turning to global resources to find those very specialized engineers who are pros in what they do. And that makes a significant shift in how people looking for outsourced resources. So it's no more, as we a lot of time we can say, well, we're skilled engineers without borders. So it's becoming more and more irrelevant where your physical location is. As long as you have those required skills and their niche skills, that's what make you very employable and require the companies.
How many
So,
developers are there globally?
yeah, we pull some statistics. It vary from source to source, but I would say based on the information we found from public sources, it's anywhere between 25 to 28 million software engineers worldwide. They have interesting concentration, and actually in this slide you can see there are separation by Europe, China, India, US, and everywhere else. So those are the most significant regions. India is, China is the largest pool of software engineers, but India is still the highest, I would say that, because the dominance in IT outsourcing. Close to 65% of worldwide IT outsourcing is in India, which is significant. With remote work staying extremely high, so we would expect after the COVID, people would come back to us and they would be required to work in the office. But as we all know, there's big resistance to that, and remote work continue to be extremely large numbers. 41% of developers who are working remotely, which makes sense, especially when you're dealing with offshore, nearshore resources. Another interesting fact, we noticed that in the past several years, the number of women became significantly larger who participate in software engineering field, which is, up to
Something that you
in
didn't
development.
mention here that is interesting to me, you mentioned Europe, USA, India, and China, but it seems like there's been an increase in, nearshore software development. Can you speak to that?
I don't have exact numbers for nearshore, but yes, we can see based on our knowledge and what we're dealing with our clients. Yes, people do prefer to work with people near shores in Latin America, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, and nearby countries. It gives very significant time saving for people in communication, so people can work almost on the same time zone. It gives advantage and also gives disadvantage. And I think because of the time difference and time zones, sometimes it may give you additional benefits. So for companies who are looking in fast to market and continuous development process, having people in multiple time zones actually speeds up their process. Combination of those nearshore, onshore, offshore resources can benefit for go to market faster. So you're pretty much adding extra 8 to 16 hours a day, or you're pretty much working 24 hours a day if you schedule this properly to get faster to market and save a lot of time, move faster. Yeah, this is actually some statistics from GitHub. And for those who don't know, GitHub is the most common code repository. We don't have, well, at least we couldn't find for 2023 number, but 2020 see number of new developers who joined GitHub is very significant. And that means, it doesn't mean those are new developers. That means those new people who sign up with GitHub but it gives you a very good breakdown on countries and how those countries expanding with a new development process and registering with GitHub. So you can see, well, India, of course, because this one of the largest, China, Brazil, Russia, and so on.
It was really helpful to see where we're actually noticing new developers that are joining GitHub. I think as a company that's looking to potentially explore nearshore, offshore software development, I'd like to go into our second chapter so we can actually understand what are the key skills we should be looking for when hiring, when interviewing, when looking at offshore companies. Within this chapter, we're going to break it down into the skills and qualifications, the evolution of said skills, and then programming languages. And we hop into our next slide, Slava, I'd be interested to hear you talk about what you think are the qualities that make successful engineers.
Well, pretty much when we, in the hiring process, what we're looking at, technical skills, communication skills, and we call it loyalty, honesty, but that's primarily teamwork. Technical skills, of course, one of the most important skills in for engineers we're hiring, but not necessarily the only skill we're looking for. Yes, we're looking for people who are very specialized. They have extremely deep knowledge of what they do. How well they can also communicate with clients, project managers, inside the team. Why is it important? Because in my belief, it all starts with communication. If you don't have a good written and verbal communication, it makes much more difficult to properly communicate with your stakeholders, project managers. A lot of time, if you don't have good communication skills, you rely on men in between, so like a translator, if you're dealing with not native clients. Well, why we're talking about that? Because our clients in US and Canada, and they do speak English. They do understand and do speak other languages, but this is primarily language of in communication. So communication, it's important. Communication inside the team, how teams supporting each other, how they understand the requirements, how they follow up on tasks and so on. And loyalty, honesty, yes, we are looking for loyalty. We are looking for people who can stick with the team for a while, who can overcome challenges, because there's always challenges. And with team support, if you're a team player, it's always easier to overcome together any challenges you may face. So that's what we're looking for.
What about how maybe the skills requirements have changed for engineers over the past few years?
Skill requirements change. Well, again, a lot of people, a lot of our clients looking for very deep knowledge. So it's people looking for full stack engineers most of the time. So where people can be very productive and not rely on other people, but also people with very specific deep knowledge in specific field. For example, we do have mix of those engineers, full stack engineers, and front-end engineers, back-end engineers, maybe engineers and so on.
I think we talk about it a little bit on the next slide if you want to hop into that one.
Sure, can do that. Well, I'm not going to read through that. If you want
But
me
just
to
as you're
do it.
talking, no, just as you're talking, I think it's helpful to people for them to be able to see it.
Yeah. By the way, so here's one of the trends we know about AI and low code development, no code. It's getting more and more popular. It's all kind of related to AI and what benefits it gives to client most of the time. So a lot of time client can go and create maybe their MVPs or quick prototype by themselves, but there is still need in developers who can actually expand and make those applications more robust, more scalable. And this is not just scalability, it's how you maintain in the future, how you will be able to update your system. Would your system adapt to new changes? So that's why you need to have good architectures. So we also see people who not just doing coding, but people who can think and think in the designs, how to create proper architecture, flexible, how to address best practices in the software field, and who can use AI, by the way. So AI is a great tool even for engineers. It does help engineers to produce their code faster, but AI, in my opinion, AI will not replace engineers. If you don't know what AI is producing, it's hard to judge. What is it? Good code? Is it kind of that human intervention with technology? And this is why the better your skills, the better you can spot flaws in AI, because AI doesn't produce always the right code. You always need to review it and reevaluate what it's producing for you. So,
Cool. Do you want to touch upon programming languages while we close out this chapter?
yes, we will. So programming languages, well, there's many. There's probably hundreds of different programming languages. Some of them more popular, some are not. JavaScript has been one of the most popular language, I would say, in the past 20 years, because everything runs, not everything, but many application runs on JavaScript or have some kind of interaction with JavaScript. 98% of websites supports JavaScript. A lot of tools are written with JavaScript. So fundamental knowledge of JavaScript is very important for all developers, in my opinion. It doesn't matter if you're just front-end developer, back-end developer, if you're a data scientist, you need to know JavaScript. Python is very popular, especially in the past decade, because of exposure to machine learning and artificial intelligence. It's very widely used in scientist community. It's easy to learn, easy to implement. It doesn't mean that only Python can work with AI or data modeling or artificial intelligence and machine learning. Other languages can do that as well. Just Python was choice for many people, and it's kind of keeping that
Cool. I think that makes a ton of sense. Maybe we can close out now with our last chapter where we talk about recruitment strategies. And I want to talk about maybe some innovative recruitment strategies, and then actually talk about what it would look like to hire with an outstaffing company versus hiring through a traditional staffing agency. Slava, could you maybe share some effective and or maybe innovative recruitment methods you've seen companies use?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't think it's changed a lot. It did change, and I think the biggest change related to AI, because AI touches on all aspects of our daily life. In our company, referral programs, and I believe for other companies as well, it's probably the most efficient and the most valuable program. So especially for smaller companies, we're now talking about 10,000 employees companies. It just, and I don't know, I cannot speak for those. We can only speak for companies of our size. So referral programs are usually very effective. And why is that effective? First of all, people refer people they want to work with. They know their co-workers or ex-co-workers, their friends, and they can vouch for them. They know what project they will be working on. They know the company requirement, and they can pretty much cut a lot of noise and refer really good candidates. So we prefer to work with referrals from our people, which makes a lot of sense. AI tools and in recruitment, yeah, we actually missed some of the names here, but sorry. I used to have some names here, but I probably lost them. There's quite a few tools in the market which help recruitment companies to do quick data scans, resume analytics, analyzed by keywords. And the difference I see in AI tools is not just scanning for keywords anymore. It's also apply algorithmic matching with previous experience and some other information. It's actually looking on social media right now, or LinkedIn and see what other people post, and it actually helps recruiters to better spot those candidates. And so this is becoming very, very effective.
Maybe we can talk about now the differences or pros and cons of going through traditional staffing agencies versus, I think something people don't think about too often is actually hiring through an offshore company.
Yes, I'm not going to go and read all those bulletin points. Let me show, well, because we do have for both. We have for outsourcing companies, and we do have for staffing companies. So the biggest advance in both of those, you can find your candidates relatively fast. You do shift responsibility from your internal team to external team, and external team usually you may use not just one, you can use multiple agencies, recruiting agency to find you the best candidates you can. It will provide time saving, and in some cases it will save you money as well, so you don't need to burn a lot of time and money on your internal staff. The difference, as I see, between outstaffing company, like outsourcing company, and recruiting company, it's more for technical expertise. What we see, recruiting company usually have just a huge pool of candidates, and they have big number of recruiters. And what they do, they go through resume, they contact those people, they get them basic questions, and they pass those candidates, which they think may fit the bill, to the client. So client has to go and do very rigorous interview process again with their technical team, and spend a lot of time in addition to it to identify those candidates. When you're working with outsourcing companies, those are usually technical companies. What they do, they interview people. They have recruiters as well. Outsourcing companies are working with recruiting firms as well who will supply those candidates. Outsourcing company usually know much better or more details on the projects they're trying to staff. So they observe that time saving, and so client don't need to spend a lot of time over interviewing the candidates outsourcing company providing, or sometimes they even don't provide, or they don't even do those interviews. They trust their partners, and they totally rely on their expertise, especially for non-technical companies. I think staffing companies are great for non-technical or light technical resources, but when we're talking about very deep knowledge of software engineers, especially who are skilled software engineers, I think outsourcing company just have greater exposure and greater knowledge. And, well, it's not always true. In some cases, yes, clients will go and they have extremely good, highly skilled developers on their teams, and they're willing to. The problem is, where do you shift that time spent? Do you shift this to the client, or do you shift this to the company who you're paying money to do that work? That's the difference. And maybe in the payment structure, slightly different, because outsourcing company usually stretch that payment through many cycles, and with staffing companies, that's usually maybe 2-3 payments, one up front and maybe another one after 3 months or so. Both of those type of companies will pay for replacement usually, but from our knowledge, staffing company limit you maybe to 6 months, rarely to a year. With outsourcing company is pretty much ongoing process. If client is not satisfied or resources leaving, so outsourcing company takes that responsibility of replacing those resources at their cost usually. So that's about it. That's what I have on that.
Oh, cool. That was very insightful. Thank you very much, Slava. That wraps up our webinar for today. Thank you everyone for joining. If you have any feedback, whether it be positive or negative, this was our first one, so we'd love to hear from you. Please shout out to either one of us on LinkedIn or send us an email, and we're excited to see you guys at the next webinar.
Yeah, are we gonna do, we have a few minutes left. Do we want to get some questions?
Sure, if anyone has any questions, feel
Yeah,
free
we
to
can
come up
actually
here,
maybe
or you
wait
can
for
put
a
it in the
minute or
chat.
so. If somebody wants to do the, happy to answer. I'll give like 10 seconds. If not, well, thank you, everybody. Well, please visit our website, tateeda.com. We're happy to help you with any recruiting needs, outsourcing, staff augmentation, custom software development, and just in general, if you need any, if you're looking for any technical help, we're happy to help. We're not limited to just recruiting or outstaffing. All right.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, everybody. We will end on this now. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone. Bye.